you guys have done your Pixton projects on your Native American stories, which you did an awesome job at, by the way. Thank you for working so hard. And now that you've looked at one group really closely, you're going to get to kind of expand your knowledge and look at lots of different groups and be able to compare them and all that kind of stuff. So the first thing you're going to do is make sure you have your notebook and some colored pencils. Once you have your materials, you need to update your table of contents. You go to Canvas. It's the very top first thing in Canvas when you go to American History. It says Class Resources, and then it'll say ISN Table of Contents. It's that very first thing, so you should be easily able to find it. Make sure your table of contents is all updated because I see a notebook check in your very near future. All right. 7th grade has upgraded to Zaption, so here I just want to give you full warning of what you're going to see. It will show me if you are rewinding when you need to. That's active watching and listening. And fast forwarding is not active watching and listening, and you won't be able to do it. So just be prepared for that. Remember, active watching involves pausing, doing a step, then playing the video again for the next step, not just sitting there and watching the screen. So really follow along, pause when you need to, do your work, and then replay the video, okay? I'm going to put in some questions throughout that should be really easy if you are actively watching, and some of them may be some optional stuff that if you don't need more explanation, you might get to skip ahead, and if you do, you have the opportunity to watch some more and get another explanation so you can understand it a little bit better, right? All right, in addition to your notebook, you are going to need your textbook, and you are going to go to page 12 in that textbook. So go ahead and open to page 12 and then replay this video. On page 12, you will notice that there are different groups. So there's like the far north, and there's a paragraph about that. There's northwest, there's a paragraph about that, so on. We're going to be looking at those different groups, right? And I'm going to show you how you're going to take your notes over this. You're going to read the section in the textbook and then write down the important ideas. So I will show that to you. All right, so this is what it looks like. You'll see it has these headers to kind of label the sections, and those are our different groups. So far north, northwest, we're going to kind of follow along with those. All right. To take your notes, you're going to need a paper that looks like this, and if you didn't have them passed out to you, they should be on that front table. You will need 4 of them for today. All right. As of right now, you need 4. So if you need to go get them, go get them. If they're on your table, grab them. All right, so you're going to read the section in the textbook and complete a CSI. I will walk you through the first one to show you everything you need to do, and yours can look exactly like mine if you want it to. If you can think of other things that still answer the question, you may have it different, but literally if you copy down what I do, I am totally fine for this first one, okay? So we need to go back to our textbook, and the first thing we're going to do is read this first section, just the far north section, and we want to jot down important facts. So you may choose, there will be a question popping up in a moment, either you read it yourself and then play the video, or listen to me read it and then move on with me, okay? So if you can answer that question when it pops up, and it will jump you to where you need to be. All right, so if you opted to have it read to you, I'm going to read it. Follow along, please, in your textbook. The people of the Arctic lived in a vast and harsh land, some of it covered with ice all year long. The people survived on fish, shellfish, and birds. They also hunted marine mammals, such as whales, seals, and walrus, from kayaks, small boats made from skins, which you guys have already learned about, and most of you already know. In the summer, they fished on the rivers and hunted caribou. South of the Arctic lay the dense forests of the subarctic region. With a climate too cold for farming, subarctic people relied on animals and plants of the forest for food. Most hunted caribou, moose, bear, and smaller animals. All right, so now we're going to go back to this, and the first thing we're going to do is write our native group name here. So you're going to write Far North. And I got that from right here, that title. Now I need to jot down some notes. Definitely, if there's anything blue, jot that vocabulary word down. So they're using those kayaks, those boats made from skin. And now we want to jot down some other important things that we read in that. There are lots of kind of details that we should probably know. So it said the people of the Arctic live in a vast, harsh land, some of it covered with ice all year long. So that first sentence, probably we should write, we can bullet point it, lots of ice. We can go back and look. People survived on fish, shellfish, and birds, and also hunted mammals such as whales. So we could say their food was from the ocean, birds, and mammals. If you wanted to be more specific, that would be perfectly fine, but this is also a good practice of summarizing, so you can kind of pick out the most important things. All right, and then it said to the south was the dense forest of the subarctic region. They couldn't farm, so they relied on animals the same as that Arctic. So you could say no farming. Okay, that gives you some overview ideas. Now you scroll down or go down on your paper and it says draw the CSI answers and then tell me why. So what you're going to do is you are going to think of a color that makes you remember the far north. Whatever color makes you remember it. I do not care what color you pick as long as you can tell me why you picked that color. So for me, I would most likely pick blue. So I would color my square with my colored pencils blue. Now I need to say why I picked that. To me, blue makes me think of cold, and ice can kind of look blue sometimes when it's really compact. So those glaciers, they look blue in real life. So I would say, and I'm going to write incomplete sentences, I selected blue for my color because, restating the question, blue makes me think of the cold and glaciers. Glaciers are found in the Arctic. The far north people lived in the Arctic. That way I know what you mean by that color. What this is going to do is it's actually going to help you memorize each of those groups better and faster because you'll associate it with something else. Okay, now I need to pick a symbol. And a symbol could be almost anything. So maybe I kind of look at my notes and I have a kayak. Maybe my symbol is water with a kayak on it. Maybe my symbol is something about the food they ate. I think a symbol for me is going to be maybe like, let's pretend that this is like corn and I can't draw in real life and I really can't draw when I have to use this Omnidazzle. So let's pretend that's some corn or something. And then I'll draw, the universal sign for like not allowed or don't have. And so it's like no farming. So then my explanation would be, it was too cold and icy in the Arctic for natives to farm. I drew a piece of corn with a no sign. I don't really know what it's called, but you know what I mean. Showing that there is no farming. Right? So remember, you're explaining to me why you drew the drawing. Don't forget to do that. All right, next thing is going to be our image. And that is any picture you can think of that makes you remember this topic. So for me, I would probably draw water because the water was so important for their food source, for how they lived. And then probably have to have a kayak in there. All right. Notice I'm hitting more than one. So I have the kayak, and I'm also going to do like a whale because it said that they hunted animals that were in the water. What I'm going to say is mine is colorful. Your drawings do not need to be in color. The only thing that I would say has to be color is when you color this square. Okay? Everything else, I am perfectly fine with it being in pencil. Right? Now I need to explain my image. I would say I drew a kayak and a whale because natives in the far north used kayaks and hunted from the ocean. Boom, done. Right? So if you would like to see another example, there will be another question that pops up and it will say, if you want another example, click here. If you understand this and you are good, you can hit the other one and move on. All right? All right, if you selected to see another example, I'm just going to delete this and we can redo our next one. So we are going to be looking at the Northwest. So go ahead and find that and you can start reading it. All right, if you would like me to read it to you, go ahead and answer the question when it pops up. If you don't want me to read it to you, go ahead, read it yourself. Click that question that says you're going to read it yourself and replay the video once you've completed that jump, okay? Okay, if you opted to have it read to you, here it goes. Follow along in your textbook, please. Many Native Americans lived in the region of the Pacific Northwest, the land that stretched from southern Alaska to northern California. Deer and bears roamed forests rich with roots and berries. Rivers swarmed with salmon. With so much food available, people here were able to live in large, permanent settlements, even though they were not farmers. In many societies of the Northwest, high-ranking people practiced a custom called the potlatch. A potlatch was a ceremony at which the host showered their guests with gifts, such as woven cloth, baskets, canoes, and furs. A family's status was judged by how much wealth it could give away. All right, so we're in our native group. You have a new sheet of paper. This is going to go, and you're going to label it Northwest. Now we're going to jot down some important things. We want to, of course, start off. We had a blue word, so let's just start off with that one. We had potlatch. And we don't have to write that full definition. We can kind of abbreviate. So a ceremony where guests were given gifts. Okay, now let's look back and see what other things we can find. it said that had rich forests. They tend to have a different diet than the one above, that far north. They had salmon, deer, lots of food was available. People were able to live in large permanent settlements. So let's add that. We can say large settlements, and permanent means they stay put. So we could say not nomads, right? Because nomads move around. We could say they lived in forests, had deer, salmon. What else did they have? Bears. Oh, they had roots and berries, so they had plants that they had. So bears, they had berries. All right, and we already got the potlatch part, so that's pretty good. Now we're going to come down, and the first thing we're going to do is color. So you kind of think, what might be a color that you would relate to this one? And I really want you to kind of think of your own and try to start coming up with your own reason why. Okay, so don't copy mine, but you're gonna, what color makes you think of that? For me, I kind of have two. If I go with that ceremony part and like wealth being important, I could go purple, because purple is commonly seen as like a royal color. Or it kind of made me think of green because it talked so much about those forests. So I could go either way. So you could decide on that one. Then make sure you tell why. You would say, I selected the color blank because, and say the reason why. Next thing is going to be your symbol. That is an image, not really an image, but something that makes you think of it. If it was a really violent tribe, maybe your image is, like your symbol is a fist. This one is talking about people getting together, and they have large settlements, which probably means that lots of people live together. So I'm kind of thinking, like something that popped in my head was they have that symbol for like world peace where they have the globe here. Let's pretend this is Earth. Okay. Kind of looks like a sad face. Let's not. There we go. We'll fix it. Okay. Let's just pretend that's Earth. Then it has like the little people all around it. And they're all kind of holding hands in like solidarity for no war. That's what it kind of made me think of. You can pick your own symbol though. Okay, so whatever makes you think of it is what you should do. Okay? Remember, it does not need to be in color. You can just do it with your pencil. The most important part is, however, to say why you selected it. I drew whatever you drew because it means, and then make sure you have this relates to the Northwest natives because. Spell it out for me. Right? I shouldn't have any questions about what you're saying. All right. And then your image is going to be some kind of picture. So maybe your picture has, makes me think of is like forests, because it said that they had lots of wonderful forests. So I have my trees. And then it said it had salmon and bear, so maybe I put a river in there, which is where the salmon would be. All right. And then I would explain. I drew this because of this reason. It means this. And then this picture relates to the Northwest natives because. All right. All right. Now you get to do this by yourself. For the next two, you're going to do far west and southwest as well. All right. All right. You are going to do notes for the Northwest, the far west, and the southwest today. When you are done with them, in your notebook, and you're going to do the same thing, that CSI with the notes for all of them. Each one gets their own page. When you are done, in your notebook, you're going to start on page 48 and just start putting them in. So one goes on 48, northwest goes on 49, far west goes on 50, southwest goes on 51. Right? When you're done with that, you can put your notebook away. We will start on the rest later, next week, and you'll only have 3 more to do after that. So you're good to go. If you finish and it is not time for the end of class, you can work on your 20% project. All right, thank you. Have a really great weekend. You are awesome.